We are so excited here at GREC to have you, just to have you in our building. If this is your first time here, we welcome you and we want to shower you with all the grace and love you need today. I want to welcome you to our Discovering Mental Resilience event today. Want to give you just a little bit of history here. So for the last 5 years, the Project Prevent Grant has been servicing 11 of our GREC districts in developing a sustainable mental health system that targets all students at the appropriate level. And our overarching goal continues to be for all students to learn in a safe, just trusting, trauma-sensitive school environment. And so today is our last big push, all right? It is our culminating event to educate today, to build resilience, and then just to continue to break down the stigma around mental health. We have an amazing team lined up for you all today that's going to be bringing an unbelievable learning experience. It is our goal that today you gain a better understanding of mental health through all these real-life experiences that you're going to hear about today. You're going to hear some lessons learned, and so we really want to learn from that today. And we also want to just learn more about mental health, physical health, how social media and bullying plays into that mental health of our students and even adults, and also just looking at what that current drug crisis looks like, because we are all faced with dealing with that on a daily basis. So, when I was thinking about this event, I wanted to have someone to kick it off, and the first person that came to my mind was Kentucky's Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman. She is truly an advocate for educators and has such a passion for student mental health, and we are so honored today that we have her here to kick off our event. So if you would help me give her a great big GREC welcome. Thank you. Well, it is great to be back with you all today. I have to give GREC so much credit for being such a leading force in this work on what I refer to as student mental health. And it is a little surreal. I worked at the Department of Education as an instructional specialist for a year and led professional development workshops in this room. So to be back here as Lieutenant Governor is a little surreal, but also very comfortable. So I want to let you all know that in the work that you do, and I know everyone here comes from a different field with a different perspective, but the same shared goal around lifting up our communities and our young people when it comes to youth mental health. And let me just say this. You have no greater support system, no greater advocates and fans than Governor Beshear and myself. Because if the tragedies that we have been through as a Commonwealth have taught us anything, it is that we need to honor the people who show up for our kids every day, who show up to do the tireless work that so many other folks benefit from. Every single one of you serves in some capacity as the tip of the spear in your community when it comes to our kids and when it comes to lifting folks up. And we believe that every Kentuckian has a right to health care. We are the first administration in Kentucky's history to acknowledge that mental health is also health care. And so we continue to push for that every single day. So children's mental health has been a huge focus of the Lieutenant Governor's office. I would say probably our biggest focus, because as we were beginning to come out of the pandemic, that first time that we dipped, and then we had the Delta variant, and then we realized this was going to be a roller coaster for a long time. As a teacher, I knew that all of the challenges that our parents were talking about they were facing at home, that our kids were facing, that we were facing as adults, the frustration, the isolation, the uncertainty, the anxiety, that was all going to pull right back in the classroom as soon as our students returned to our schools. And so thinking about how to support our schools and our teachers in doing this work that, quite frankly, we may or may not feel very prepared for, was something that I wanted to make sure that we did to help our kids get reallocated, get back to school, and get to work. So one of the benefits of having a teacher as lieutenant governor is that I set out to ensure that this work was 100% student-led. I didn't want to hear any more adults talking to adults about young people. I didn't want to hear any other adults making policy without consulting the people who it would impact. I said, we're going to bring the students in and they're going to lead the way. And they did, and they were our North Star, and we couldn't have had any better leadership out of this work than that. So I borrowed the Commissioner of Education's Student Advisory Council, students from all across Kentucky who showed up. And literally we started with this question. I said, I really think we need to do something to support student mental health. Can you help us do that? And of course they were all in. And so my deal with them was I would get them in any room they wanted to get in. I feel like I could probably do that at this point. But it was their show. It was their work. They were going to be the ones that led the way, that made the decisions, that guided adults to help us know what to do to better serve them. So when we got together, they decided that they wanted to they wanted to go around Kentucky and talk to their peer groups and raise some very basic questions. They facilitated the questions, they developed them, they led the conversations all across Kentucky with over 300 of their peers from every region of the Commonwealth. And this was so student-led that when I told them that we should call them student mental health roundtables, they told me that that was boring and that they should be action summits. And I was like, okay, so they're action summits. So they literally even named them. So we got that information, that back and forth from students across Kentucky, brought it back to our group and dove into that work. And our students then started to craft some policy recommendations based on what they'd heard from their peers across the state. So we have now a generated list of policy recommendations from the Student Mental Health Initiative that we started several years ago, 4 years ago now. We have taken those to community partners, to state agencies. They presented in front of the Interim Joint Committee on Education. And we're really excited that one of our recommendations made its way through in the General Assembly, and that was to allow for school districts to create excused absences for mental health reasons and not just physical health reasons, right? So that was one of about 6 recommendations that they wanted to see get through. And I don't know if you all know what it feels like to try to get a bill through a legislature. Martha Jane does. Sometimes it's like watching paint dry. And so our kids were a little bit disappointed. I think they thought they could just go and put these recommendations up and they would fly through, and we can't even get them to agree that the grass is green, so that wasn't going to happen. But I let them know there's more than one way to get this done. We don't need one certain group of people. We can alter policy language. There are executive orders. There is the federal government that can help us. And so we're going to keep at this until we get every single recommendation you have made through. And by the way, let me say this too about them. They weren't just worried about their peers. They were worried about you. They talked about how they could feel the weight on their guidance counselors when they didn't have enough time to do the job that they were actually supposed to do because they were out doing every other job that got delegated to them. They could feel the stress of their teachers in the front of the classroom knowing that they were dealing with these challenges as well. So just very emotionally, and so they're so much more emotionally intelligent than we are, y'all. They just are. And that really came through. So to know that they were making recommendations about how to better support teachers and adults in the building as kids is pretty insightful as well. And so one of the relationships we were able to build was with SAMHSA at the federal level. And they were so impressed with the work that our students did, that they were like, can we take you guys around the country and it's like to let students lead the policy conversations? And I'm like, we're game. We'll go wherever you want us to go, because I believe in the power of student voice, especially when it comes to their own mental health. And so through this process, we were able to reach out to our cooperatives. And again, I got to give a huge shout out to Greg for being a leader in this work in many different ways, but certainly in the Student Mental Health Initiative as well. And with the cooperation of our cooperatives in every region of Kentucky, our students and the work that they did has to date brought $42 million worth of funding for school-based mental health services for our students, which is pretty impressive for a young group of kids. And we are not done yet. We still have a lot of work to do, and we have been now accepted into the National Governors Association Summit on Youth Mental Health. We are one of 6 states that were selected for that. So the work continues. Kentucky just qualified for a CMS grant, which is $2 million to help us facilitate this work across the state. And so we continue to put our kids and their mental health as a top priority in education, understanding that this is not just about reading, writing, and arithmetic. We all wish it was, because that would be a lot easier. All those answers are in a textbook. But those are not the cards that we've been dealt. This is a much more complex and challenging issue that we all want to make sure that we are prepared for, that we are supporting the people, you all here today doing this work, so that you can support the next generation of Kentuckians. And let me tell you why this is important outside of the context of mental health, which is the work that you're here doing. The governor and I have been incredibly proud that in the last 5 years, we have year after year after year broken every single economic development record in Kentucky's history. Record job creation every year, record budget surpluses, record rainy day funds, record economic development investments, $32 billion worth of private sector investments and expansions in Kentucky to create 55,000 new good-paying jobs. That is the kind of economy that we are building for the future, for the next generation of Kentuckians. And here's what I know to be true, and I say this at least once a day. The future of Kentucky's economy is in our classrooms today. We all have a vested collective interest in ensuring that those students are as prepared as they possibly can be when they walk across that stage at graduation and enter the next phase of their lives. That stage at graduation is not the finish line. It is the starting gate. And that is about serving the whole child. That is about academics and wraparound services and ensuring that we meet kids where they are and recognize that there are challenges outside of academic challenges that they desperately need our help with. It is our responsibility to show up for them and to help them get from where they are today to where they want to be tomorrow. And that mindset is why Kentucky is number 2 in the nation right now in economic development. But I am most proud, as someone who's from a town with 1,000 people and a 4-way stop, and that is it, that we are number 2 in the nation in rural job creation, ensuring that we're not going to allow a zip code to determine or limit your opportunity in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So the goal here is to take the progress that we have seen in the last several years and turn it into decades of prosperity. And we know that you are so critically important to that work, making sure that our kids are both physically and mentally healthy, well prepared, well educated, and ready to step out into this world and make a difference. And so I want to thank you for showing up today. Greg, I want to thank you for your leadership in this work, and to let you all know that it is beyond important, and I am beyond grateful that we have people like you in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Please remember, that Capitol building in Frankfort belongs to you. We only get to occupy those offices for a moment in time, but that is your Capitol building, and we work for you, and you deserve a government that is responsive to the needs that you work with every single day. Please know that Governor Beshear and I will continue to do that as long as we are in that Capitol building in Frankfort. Thank you so much.